Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And it's time to talk about Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 3. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. No, um, Mage Horatio there. He is unfortunately off sick, so I'll be filling in as the host as the most.
Well, actually,
Talking
he's
about this
dealing with
very
family
interesting.
issues, but
Yeah, well, I didn't want to bring that up, so
Oh, okay. Well, I just
yeah. So I'm going to be filling in today, and we're going to be talking about this episode. And please let us know in the comments how you found this episode. Now, because Mage was very last minute telling us that wasn't able to join us, I wasn't able to really take some notes down. So a lot of the stuff will be coming from memory. First of all, Cheetah, before we start talking about this episode in general, how did you find this episode overall?
Well, I thought I was going to hate this episode, and I happened to just enjoy the episode a lot. Actually, the actress who plays La'an is amazing. I love her to death. And honestly, the actor playing Kirk is starting to grow on me. I'm not gonna after this episode, like last season, I when he kind of showed up on the season finale, I was kind of like, okay, he's all right. I don't like it when they recast these people, but you know,
Got no choice to have they? Yeah, I mean,
well, yeah, I know, but they also didn't have to include Kirk either. You know what I mean? They just could have done stories that didn't include Kirk. But this guy's kind of growing on me. So,
I think Kirk will just to go into that. I think Kirk is kind of inevitable. I mean, they recasted Spock, they recasted Uhura. You know, what I
mhm.
mean,
I know it was
it's
inevitable. I just, you know me, I'm not, and I guess it is the Enterprise, so it makes sense because it's the Enterprise.
they're
Like if
gonna
it was
cross
just
over.
some,
They recasted fucking Pike. Yeah, I mean,
well, yeah, they obviously have to recast a
and
lot of
number
these
one.
people
Yeah,
because
so what
there's a
makes
whole.
Kirk
I'm
any
not saying I
different?
wanted the original actors. I'm just saying like. I'm like, oh god, here we go, another legacy character coming in. Like when's Sulu coming in? When's Scotty coming in? Chekhov won't come in, because he came in technically in TOS, but it's anyway. But
I mean, they
Daniel
could always
Vance.
bring Chekhov as a non-bridge character. Yeah,
Well, I think he was an ensign even in the original series, so he was probably fresh out of the academy.
that was a
Um,
retcon thing. I mean, they could easily put him in engineering, and have him there. With what's her face, Hocus Pocus. But anyway, I like this episode a lot. These time travel episodes can be really fascinating, and I thought this was a good one. Even though they did time travel, it was really hard to say exactly what period they were in. It felt like a little bit of the future from now, so to speak.
mhm.
Um, but maybe not too much so because that Romulan, by the way, spoilers ahead, that Romulan did confess that she's been stuck on there for 30 years. So theoretically, it should be, and you mentioned 1992, so it should be 2022. But it felt more futuristic than that, just a tad, maybe about a few years ahead of that. But nevertheless, a very interesting episode. We have, I think the year is 20, what?
2247.
Well, that's like two. Well,
I think he meant
no,
2047, but
yeah.
see, here's my thing with that, and here, okay, so here's so let's get into the canon talk really quick because I'm not a stickler for canon for this, and I'll explain why. Um, but with the canon of it all, the eugenics wars happened back in 1997, so it it makes no sense, like canon wise, it makes no sense that Khan would be a kid in the year 2022, 22 or 2047, whatever. I think that I think that Trek has changed the time of the eugenics wars to be more towards um more towards our era. But honest and truly, I hold on. So Daniel Vance is chiming in here at rapid pace. They clearly said that canon has changed, but that time is repairing itself. Yes. Um, the
So
Romulan
this is
time
not
traveler.
necessarily. So before you get to that comment, this is not this show is not necessarily a prequel as such, because I almost feel like time travel has had an effect to such a degree that this particular era of show is not necessarily the prequel to the TOS era. It's a different timeline.
Well, but here's the other thing: is that at the end of Picard season 2, Singh, Noonien, or not Noonien, Brent Spiner, Soong. I know the names are so close. It's like Soong had a file that was labeled Khan. Like, I don't know if it was Khan Noonien-Singh, but it was Khan. And it obviously, I think it had a date on it, like 97 or something like that. I don't remember if there was a date on it, but it, as I said, I'm not a stickler for the time, like the time, like, of these lost eras of Trek, where it's like from today to like 2000 or 21 or 2050 63 when we first meet the Vulcans. Like, anything between now and then, I'm kind of like, whatever. I don't care if they mess with the canon a little bit. So that, but I mean, if they went really hard trying to respect canon in this episode at certain parts, and I really wish they would stop dancing around it just to keep some of the hardcore fans happy, because honest and truly, I feel like this is a new timeline. Like, I feel like Enterprise, I feel like this is the First Contact timeline. First Contact, Enterprise, like the events of them going back in time in First Contact then led to the episode of Enterprise where they found the Borg in the North Pole, which then led now to like Discovery looking different, and the Enterprise and looking different, and Strange New Worlds now looking different. So I know people are like, "Oh, this is the canon timeline." I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I'm like, I really don't care. This can be the First Contact timeline, because you know what? I don't care. I really don't. Things look different. Things are different. Let's let it go. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not worth thinking too hard about this regarding, but it does make you ponder what the fuck's going on at the same time as well. And if they do need to, if they do feel they need to somehow push forward the eugenics war era, then fair enough. At the end of the day, we're just going with the flow, So, yeah. So, regarding this episode, we see Singh walking through. I mean, they really, by the way, they really tried to sexify her up in this episode, big time, man. There were some moments where I thought to myself, wow, she's looking really hot, and they're doing a lot of hitting a lot of revealing on her. And that's the Star Trek. They can't help themselves sometimes. Yeah,
I don't think so. I mean, I don't. I mean, when she was working out with Mbega, I mean, she was wearing a workout outfit. I mean, women wear that stuff when they work out.
Nah, but look, her nips was fucking sticking right out, man.
Maybe it was cold.
I couldn't help but notice it. But it was the moment when she was in the hotel room with Kirk, and
do you sleep fully clothed? I mean,
but do we have to? I mean, like the way they directed it, or the way it was shot, like they made sure that we got a nice little shot of her in her skin piece. You know what I mean? Because we didn't need to, but this is how Star Trek is now. It always has been.
I honestly feel like you're a little off base with that one.
I don't know. As much as this show wants to progress here and there, it still can't help itself with a bit of.
I thought Kirk kissing La'an was a bit too soon. Ba-dum. Ah.
Yeah,
dude, fair enough. You know Kirk. I mean, Kirk's gonna shag because shag.
The Romulan time traveler says that the release rise of Khan should have happened 30 years ago, and that time seems to be reinserting events to correct the timeline. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. I think this is. I honestly feel like this is a different timeline. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's time travel shenanigans happening, and honestly, but it's like the whole Spock and Nurse Chapel thing. Like, like if things happen differently, because I'm liking Spock and Nurse Chapel. If things happen differently in Strange New Worlds compared to what happens in the original series, which was honestly, I know everybody hates me for saying, but the original series was not that good. it was I respect it for like bringing Trek to our screens, but for I know it was progressive in the 60s, but it still was not that progressive like in certain areas. Like for women, one of the final words spoken on Star Trek was Jim Kirk saying, "Oh, it's too bad she's a woman, otherwise she would have made a great captain," basically implying she wouldn't be a captain because she's a
I
woman.
agree.
So I'm
I
just saying,
agree.
like, we kind of need to take some of these things with a grain of salt. It's like times have changed, things have changed. Like, I'm sorry, like TOS is kind of exactly. Daniel Vance says it right here. TOS is good for its time. It's dated now, and that's fine. If TOS is your go-to dead to rights Star Trek, that's fine. But for me, it's not. Not
No,
not.
I had no qualms, by the way, with Kirk making out with noonien-singh, because that's what Kirk does. That's who he is. He's a shagger. But by the way, regarding the timeline, ironically enough, if this is alternative timeline, we had an alternative timeline in the alternative timeline. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's the multiverse. It branches and branches and branches.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely. Um, and I mean, this isn't. They did, as I said, like everyone was releasing all of these photos, like when they were filming this episode, and it's like, oh, Kirk and Soong are together. How are they going to do? Oh, how does Kirk not know Soong? Noonien-singh when when blah blah blah. It's like, well, we get to the episode. It's like, well, it's an alternate timeline,
Yeah.
Kirk. There you
And
go.
also, people were also saying when he got stuck in the revolving doors, he goes, "I'm from outer space," and then people were using the line
Yep.
from Star Trek 4 saying, "I'm not from outer space. I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space."
I just
But
find
now
it
we
funny though
know.
that he was born on the USS Iowa. He's still born.
Yeah.
He was born on the
Oh,
USS.
really? I must have missed that.
Yeah, he was born on the
Okay.
USS Iowa. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's a stretch, but whatever. It's fine. Like, that's a bit coincidental. And as Garrick says, we don't trust coincidences.
Well, this was very unusual at the beginning of this episode, but after a workout with a doctor who seems to be a dab hand at everything nowadays.
You know what, Daniel Vance? Whatever. Yes, the UEDF Iowa.
Yes, yeah. And so we some sort of teleportation sort of thingy happens. Oi, oi, enough,
So,
enough cockfighting, enough cockfighting.
So regarding that, the one thing that they don't really talk about is whether this is a part of the temporal Cold War or if it's just a part of a Romulan coup. Like they don't say where. I don't think they say where this Romulan is originally from. Is she just from another faction, like the Romulan? Like because if she's from the future, like the future of even like during the temporal Cold War, that's in the 27s, I think, 27th, 28th
Yeah,
century.
and humans still haven't. Well, people have not even seen what Romulans look like yet.
No.
She
That's
was in
past.
disguise, of course.
No, the 28th century they have. That's past next gen. That's past that's in between.
No, I'm just saying someone like Singh,
Oh
who's
yeah,
obviously who is dealing with this particular Romulan. I mean, obviously this.
Kirk, we can call him. Alternate Kirk he knew what Romulans look like, I think. But yeah, La'an doesn't know what a Romulan looks like because they still haven't seen them yet. The one episode where they actually did the Balance of Terror thing last season, Kirk, no, Pike had seen a Romulan, but I don't know if he's even said anything about him because maybe he knows not to mess up the timeline or something. I don't know because they never really made reference to that about the Romulans in that Pike making reference to that timeline thing, like the Romulans looking like Vulcans after the fact.
This was very much like your Sarah Connor Terminator effect, in my opinion. I feel like some of the things that had to happen in this timeline was to resort or reset the current timeline by making an alternative timeline. Well, I mean that's not necessarily Terminator like, but nevertheless, some geezer just comes out of a fucking time portal, and he's wearing a shirt and tie and shit, and he's got like this weird device on him, and he says things have changed. We don't really see any sort of change around Leon, but things have changed apparently. And then he dies. Does he disappear? I can't remember.
I think he disappeared when he handed the device off to her, and the timeline changed because he wasn't protected from timeline changes once he handed that off to her. But she was protected from timeline changes.
Well,
that's what I took away from it.
She ends up going to the bridge, and Kirk is now the captain of the United Earth Defense something or other
force, the United Earth Defense Force.
Fair enough, which is like basically a national. I wouldn't necessarily say nationalistic, but they are not really about spreading their wings and uniting with other sort of like colonies and space planets and so on. It's really about, okay, we can go around space and do our own shit, but we're not really going to unify. We're just going to do our own shit.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of doing what Earth was doing in the 32nd century. Like Earth was its own thing. Like United Earth was kind of a, its own thing. It was not a part of the Federation. It wasn't a part of. So Earth is kind of on its own.
So this is where I have an issue now, because did they not have to run into Vulcans? Like did we still have the Zephyr Cochrane thing, and in order to get warp travel, and did they run into Vulcans? If not, then when did they learn warp travel, and how come the ships still seem just as advanced as they are now in this particular timeline?
Well, we can theorize. They don't really say why, but I mean, technically, yeah, Zephyr Cochrane created warp drive. So, I mean, possibly we met the Vulcans and found out we weren't alone, but then Earth was a bit less inclusive. Because if you remember in Enterprise, because I know you've watched it, to death. I know you love that show more than anything. What in Enterprise, Earth is very like accepting of the Vulcans' help, but but maybe in this alternate reality they weren't as accepting of the Vulcans' help. Although Earth still progressed, because the Vulcans didn't give Earth any technology. Like that's one of the big things on Enterprise is the Vulcans could have given them tractor beams, photon torpedoes, phaser banks, replicators, and they didn't give them any of that. None of that cultural technological exchange happened until the Federation was formed. 10 years after Enterprise.
Because this is my thing. Because if the Vulcans were still the people that helped the humans, the Earthlings, even though they never necessarily gave them anything, they were there to kind of show them the way, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And if that was the case, then you would have thought that some Vulcans who we saw alternative timeline Spock, who does a distress call and needs some help, you would have thought, with the humans and the Vulcans going way back, a couple of 100 years or so, that they would have helped the Vulcans out in that particular position, because regardless of how Earth decides to be as a sovereign nation, they still owe the Vulcans a lot for their technology. And so you would have thought they would have helped Spock, no?
No, because if they were if United Earth was isolate. No, I'm saying it wrong.
Isolated.
Isolationists. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. If they were isolationists, that means that they would have met the Vulcans, but they would have been like, no, we don't want your help. And then they would have kept developing their technology and stuff like that. And although not making the Federation or whatever and taking help, because as I said, the Vulcans didn't help Earth with their technology. They kind of guided them, but they did not help them develop technology. They let Earth develop on their own. So, that's kind of why I'm thinking they're not in they met the Vulcans, but that doesn't mean that the Vulcans helped them, or even the Earth let the Vulcans help them. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a gray area for me still, but
it's stupid confusing.
UDEF is somewhere between canon and the mirror universe. Cochrane flew. We met Vulcans, but we just had to remain isolationists.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What else did he say? The timeline ceased to exist, so it wouldn't matter if his body stayed or not. Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, he gave he still gave Leon this device, which means that even though she was supposed to cease to exist, she remains existing because of that particular device.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she talks to Kirk about this, and when she realizes that her Enterprise is not the same Enterprise, even though there are some familiar faces on board that bridge, Kirk and her, they have a little scuffle over that device, and then they both end up in marvelous downtown Toronto.
Dude,
a place
I love.
I've been to several
I
times.
thought it was hilarious that he thought it was New York. Like you know how in certain movies and shows they try to play off like other cities, like they'll try to play off like Cleveland as like New York or something like that, and it's just funny because like, oh, this is this, and she's like, no, this is Toronto. Like it was I think it was a nod towards like, and because that's exactly where they were filming was I think Toronto.
Yeah, they
So
do a lot of that, don't they? They do a lot of old cities as New York. Every city outside, within America and Canada is fucking New York. So yeah. I have to say this was like very very bizarre. Like them going back to this particular time period. I don't know what made them go back to that particular time period. Was that the period that guy came from? And all
well,
of that,
he's
and who was he, and how does he have a fucking time traveling device? I don't
well,
get
I
it.
don't think they're ever going to explain that. He's the path to the episode. I think
Yeah,
I mean he just now ceases to exist or he's dead or whatever. I mean, I don't know how that works with these guys or whatever. I mean, Daniels in Enterprise was kind of the same way. He died once or twice, and then he, when they did time travel shenanigans, it kind of reset things, and he was back alive again.
well, before I forget, because certain things are coming and going through my mind regarding Kirk. I mean, this version of Kirk has never been to Earth. Earth is pretty much a derelict place now, and this is
Mhm.
like the conflict now between both Kirk and Leon. Excuse me. Simply because he obviously exists and he doesn't want to not exist anymore, but she tells him that you are not supposed to exist in the first place. But then rebuttals by saying, "How do you know this?" But then what she's saying sounds more appealing because regardless of how they operate as a unit, this UDEF, her Earth is still having sunrises because Kirk's Earth is pretty much decimated. I think so much explosions and stuff like that by the Romulans to stop them from progressing has ruined Earth as a planet. And also, funnily enough, Sam Kirk is also dead in this timeline too. So, in a way, Kirk's the idea of Kirk wanting to go back to his timeline is seeming less appealing to him. But if he could re-exist as somebody from an alternative timeline with his brother alive, I'm sure he would take that, which I think he ended up doing anyway. So yeah, but they're in this timeline now, and it is funny what they go through. First of all, they have to get some clothes. You know how it is. With Star Trek when they go back to like our modern day settings and stuff like that. They have to like get some money as well, and this is where like we find Kirk is a chess hustler.
He
This
also knows how to
2D
do the
chess is so
Vulcan neck
basic.
pinch.
Yeah, he learned that in jail. You know what I mean, which was pretty cool. But regarding the chess hustling, like he had no money to put on the line in the first place. So I was wondering how he was able to start making money without having some money to put on in the line in the
Probably
first
just
place.
he
Maybe
probably just
put his
goaded him.
jacket, or maybe he put his jacket on the line. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
maybe.
Yeah, it's worth a few bucks.
Yeah,
So,
Daniel Vance
and
is
I like,
asking the same question. What did Kirk put up as collateral for the first match?
yeah, there you go. Great minds think alike, Daniel Vance. It's not just It's not just me being an ethnic minority.
Wait, Zam, you're a ethnic minority?
yeah. Not in
Holy
London
shit.
though. But nevertheless, you see him chess hustling. I like the fact that he says that 3D chess is a lot more harder than this 2D chess and stuff like that.
What did
I
he say?
still need to,
2D chess or chess for idiots? I think is
yeah,
what he
something.
said.
Yeah, no, I'm not necessarily the best chess player in the world, but I do know how to play chess. I'm not sure if you know how to play chess.
Actually, I do not. I've never learned. I've not really ever cared to learn.
I've learned, but I've just never been good at it. But I'm always but because I know how to play 2D chess, I am beyond curious to know how to play 3D chess.
I think
Because I know,
I I
yeah,
think there are people who out there like big Trekkie nerds who are out there who have created a 3D chess game like that actually works.
yeah.
I think I'd have to look it up. I think I read years ago that they were at conventions and stuff, and they actually sold 3D chess sets, and they actually had rules for the game, and you could learn how to play it, and they would play people at the conventions and everything, and show people how to play and teach people how to play at the conventions.
Well, Kirk was really hustling, dude. I mean, he was making some serious fucking Canadian dollar.
No,
I
and
don't know
there's
how
just a
much
bunch
money.
of people with all that
Yeah,
paper just sitting around, just waiting to give it to Kirk.
I don't know how he must have just kept doubling on nothing the whole time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much money he ended up making. Top of the morning to you, Mr. System, and welcome to the stream of your dreams. So, yeah, they get some money now, and I think what do they do with all the money they make? They go
Oh, hot
to
dogs.
get a hotel. Oh, they buy hot dogs. Yeah, fair enough. How are we all? We're wonderful, thank you. Just watched the latest episode of Strange New Worlds. Anyway, they buy some hot dogs and they get a hotel room to relax for a little bit. You
Yeah.
know,
Kirk does the chivalrous thing and sleeps on the couch while Laan gets to bed.
yeah, and then
I
that's
was
when we get a
I was
nice little shot of Leon's form as well, and then she thinks about wanting to shag Kirk, but then she opts out of it. You know what I mean? She wanted to shag him, didn't she? You know what I
Oh
mean? She was
yeah.
gonna give a booty.
Oh yeah.
She was doing a booty call for sure. You know what I mean? So you haven't seen the first season. Let me tell you something, my Irish friend. It is without doubt the greatest TV show you'll ever see in your entire life. Remember that website I gave you? Go there, binge it, watch it. You'll love it. If you like Star Trek, man, you know what I mean? And you can't go wrong. What happens after that? After they, she.
I don't know. I mean, what they do the time travel thing. They get clothes. They get an
Oh no, the explosion. The
yeah.
explosion
That's
happens. Yeah,
yeah. The explosion
yeah.
happens on the bridge. They go investigate. They meet some. They meet some
Photographer.
crazy like.
Well, she's a photographer at first, isn't she?
Yep.
And she's a like initially, and that's why he wants to look at the pictures and stuff like that. And they realized there was some rock there, maybe some alien rock. But this particular explosion happened in both their timeline, both Kirk and Leon's timeline. So nothing time wise changed there. But then all of a sudden they steal a fucking Ford Mustang and what the Vulcan pinch and all of that. They get away with that right in front of cop cars. They do that shit. Did you notice that? There's
Mm-hmm.
cop cars there and there may be police around, but fuck it. I'm going to I'm going to knock this guy out and steal his car. Yeah, for all they know, just doing that alone could have maybe had a massive influence on the timeline. But nevertheless, they Kirk learns how to drive within 1 minute. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
So
I don't know if he learned at it, but yeah, you're right. It was of course your typical. They learn how to drive, like within a couple seconds of actually.
well, we do forget how highly intelligent these people are. Let me really go to Mr. System. Yes, I remember. I hope to get around to watching it and Lower Deck soon. Yes, we are Star Trek mad on this channel, so please do. But I think we almost underestimate and forget the level of intelligence of these Starfleet officers because every single one of them is like a quantum physicist, at Buddy High School.
Yeah.
They're learning quantum science and shit like that. When they're going into high school, because a lot of them are wanting to be explorers. So yeah, but nevertheless, regardless of having that level of intelligence, maybe doesn't mean that he's capable of learning how to drive a car within 5 minutes. But still, it was very funny that he was able to pick up driving, and he's not just driving; he is fucking drifting on the roads and shit. And then he gets the police, and they're chasing his one van with the rock and stuff like that. And then eventually they get pulled over, and the cops stop them, and they're about to get arrested when that photographer girl comes along and saves their ass. And she mentions how Kirk is a doctor. And I thought to myself, oh no, here we go. We're doing the old somebody from the future looks like somebody from the past sort of thing. You know what I mean? And that wasn't the case. I'm very happy. She was just lying about it.
Yeah, she was just lying about it and just hoping to to call their bluff.
So the photographer here apparently gave Daniel Vance Rain Robinson Sarah Silverman character from Voyager. Oh, sorry, my bad. I apologize. I love
That's
Sarah
from your
Silverman.
show, Star Trek Voyager.
Sarah Silverman's fucking hot, man. You know what I mean? So nevertheless, they have a chat with this photographer lady. She seems to be one of your tinfoil hat sort of people. She's got photographs of certain things, and she believes that. And this is very interesting about how there is like some sort of power, some sort of entity that is stopping human beings from progressing when it comes to space exploration and stuff like that. And I really like that, because I do believe that there are people out there in this world who are trying to stop us from improving ourselves, and we see them every day in our politics, and whether it be my country, your country. I would call them, if I was American, I would be calling them Republicans, and if I was in the in United Kingdom, I'll be calling them the Tory Party, because we have people in this world who don't want us to progress in certain things like space travel and stuff like that. They become more privatized than government subsidies. It's something that I genuinely feel it almost feels like art is imitating life to this particular degree, because there was a period where we would see satellite, we would see like space shuttles almost every year. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so anyway, moving on. Zam, go ahead. I'll take.
No, sorry. I apologize. I'm just saying.
I do feel you're tangenting very, very far.
Yeah, but I do genuinely feel that there is an opportunity for us to maybe go into space and do all of these things. There were space shuttles going into space every year at one particular point. That's not been happening now. I think ever since the Challenger disaster back in 1987, it's become more of a rarity.
It's money, and it's the fact that NASA, the funding from. I mean, we could talk a whole hour about that, about how George W. Bush and George Bush Sr. have cut NASA's budget by a ton. Well, like 0.5% of the national budget, it goes to NASA, when you got $750 billion going to the defense budget. So, I think NASA gets like $22 billion a year, and that's a lot, yes, but compared to $750 billion. So, no, we could talk about this all day, and I know you don't like Elon Musk, but with privatized space, the only way that space travel is going to get anywhere in our lifetime is if it's done outside the government. If our government actually funded space travel like it should be, like at least remotely comparatively to every other thing, then I would say, okay, we need, the government needs to be doing it.
It all depends on who's in charge, in my opinion.
On the governmental level.
it's always going to be depending on who's in charge. You know, if we got
no, because over the past 20 years, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Bill
all
Clinton,
capitalists,
no,
dude.
and I
Yeah, I
agree, but
mean,
I'm just saying
yeah.
they all don't. None of them have really done anything for NASA.
Yeah, but these guys are not left wing enough, man. You know what I mean? I hate to say it. You know what I mean? Every like I've always said regarding and I hate to go on this tangent right now, but your political parties are center right and far right. You don't have anything remotely left leaning. And if I think more left leaning parties though that wanted to do things like maybe space exploration, you know, certain things. If we had progressive leaders in charge who gave a damn about these things, then I think these things would happen within government budgets. But at the particular moment in time, it's just about feeding the wealthy and keeping the status quo and all of that sort of shit. And yeah, anyway, let's get back on track regarding this. Hello, Jim, by the way. Nice to talk to you. Nice to see you. Anyways, so so this lady's basically spelled it out that you know they don't want Earth to learn space travel, and oh God, I'm trying to remember now where we were with this. Do you remember?
They needed an engineer because they needed a tricorder because they wanted to find out where the explosion was going to happen. So they go and find the chief engineer lady who is that like
In
hundreds,
Vermont.
yeah, like hundreds of thousands or not hundreds of that, like thousands of years old or something, and she was living on Earth. So they happen to find her in Vermont, which is very close, which is very happenstancely close to Vancouver. I mean, not close, but like it's not like they had to
Toronto.
travel like like travel across the ocean.
I wonder how many games of chess fucking Kirk had to play to get the money to pay for that taxi ride. But nevertheless, they go to Vermont, they meet what's her face, and she is obviously you know, an old celestial sort of being, so to speak, but she's no engineer. And this is where I get that John Connor Terminator effect here again, because if it wasn't for maybe Leon being at this particular moment to inspire her to be an engineer, she might never have been an engineer in the first place. But whilst they were there, you know, I mean, you then again, don't get me wrong. You know, we're talking about building a tricorder. You telling me that Leon and James T. Kirk aren't capable of doing that? You know, together.
I mean, maybe not. I mean,
I know
one's a
that.
security
I know that.
officer. Kirk was an operations officer, so I mean, maybe not.
I just feel that there's some sort of level of engineering skill that you know everyone tends to have. You know, I'll never forget seeing Dr. Bashir trying to fix a fucking shuttlecraft on his own. You know what I mean? If you know, so and he's not an engineer at all. You know what I mean? So, nevertheless, they go to this lady to get themselves a tricorder. At first, I thought to myself, they're going to use a tablet or something like that and turn that into a tricorder. Yeah, but no, they. I love that it was so easy for them to cross the border without identification after a terrorist attack. Yeah, but they're white. They're white.
Actually,
So
Laan is the actress is
yeah,
Asian.
yeah. The actress ain't Asian.
I'm pretty
I think
sure
the cat. Yeah, it's a
Hold
character. I
on.
mean, she might. I think she might be. When you say Asian, I mean Singh is Indian. You know, and Leon is supposed to be of Indian descent, but she might be. She might have some like Far Eastern things about her, but she looks. She could. You know, she could pass for white.
I mean, yeah, she could pass for white. Yes, that you're right on. Well, she's English, so
Yeah, no shit. No fucking shit. You're fucking Sherlock Holmes right there.
nope. She's
Man.
the daughter of a Chinese father and an English mother, so
Yeah.
she's half.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
she's half Asian.
yeah. She's mixed. She is mixed race, but she could pass for white. That's what I'm saying. Quite easily.
I mean, her name is Christina Chong, so
Yeah, but she's in. Yeah, but she's crossing a border in the States, and she's having to do that without identifying herself. So, oh, I mean, okay,
James Kirk just banged the border attendant. Didn't matter if it was male or female. He just banged it and just Kirk got away. You know.
Anyway, nevertheless, they turn a Rolex into a fucking tricorder, and they just start walking around the street. And if the Rolex glows, then they're near a what? Some sort of like place that can explode.
They're near the fusion reactor.
The fusion reactor. Fair enough. So after a little bit of walkie and a little bit of kissy, I think this is where James T. Kirk, does his dun 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 dun. That moment. You know what I mean? Smooth as ice, motherfucker. Goes there, lays the fucking lip lock on her. All women that go weak at the knees when it comes to James T. Kirk. I mean, he's the man. Someone as hard as nails as noonien-singh can't help herself either. But nevertheless, they got saved by the tricorder, and they find this location. They are able to get into this building, no problem. They see this one guy doing a scan, and then they do a scan, and it's a biometric scan, so it's not like a fingerprint scan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to do with the genetics.
Which, okay, so
that means Khan can just escape from his fucking room, can't he?
No, this is the one part of the episode that I just kind of rolled over and just went, oh my god. So I mean, like, here's the thing: is that yes, she's a noonien-singh, but I don't know if she would have the. I don't know if she would have the genetic makeup to pass a biometric scan, because her genetics would be so diluted over the 300 years from this point, maybe 250, maybe. So
yeah, but you ever seen Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's exactly how biometrics work. That's how genetics works. I don't know if that's how biometrics
Creed bullshit, by the way. I mean that's also bullshit, by the way, regarding that, because was she from Taxi? Christina Chong?
Christina Chong? I don't think so.
Oh, you're talking about the ladies who we then get the moment where as they're just about to enter this room, conspiracy theory woman comes along. And nice little twist, by the way, that we find out that she was trying to use them to get what she wants.
Dude, as soon as she flipped that one picture and it was a Romulan bird of prey, I was like, oh shit, here we go, Romulans.
Well, we heard about Spock having trouble with the Romulans as well, so
well, in the future, yeah.
In the future, so bringing them up in the past wasn't a big deal for me, but it was just their ship as well, and they've seen Romulan ships regardless. So,
oh, the new engineer. I think she was in Taxi, wasn't she?
Oh no, she was. For me, when I see her, I can't help but think of Hocus Pocus. Yeah, I mean,
I don't like her character.
She sounds like she's fucking on the sauce. You know what I mean by on the sauce?
Yeah, I don't.
She sounds like she's fucking like she's been like at cocktail parties, and she's been having one too many vodka martinis, and she comes across as inebriated all the fucking time. But fair enough. I mean, if they give her small doses like they've done today, I think she could be tolerable, and maybe by episode 9 they kill her off.
I know they're not gonna. They're not gonna do the.
Who's the new engineer until Scotty comes in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I don't think they're gonna do that. I mean, maybe.
So
oh my god, you killed the engineer.
Yeah, she's a weird one, because I just can't. She just doesn't come across as somebody who is very quick on her feet. So it's going to be interesting to see an episode where you do need a quick on your feet thinking engineer, who's rapid pace. I can't see her being that, but I'm sure a moment like that will have to occur, and she'll have to be quick on her feet. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull that off.
Well, and I mean, also just a quick shout out. It just came to me. The Kirk, when he was in prison, he was in a Denobulan prison, which is the species that Dr. Phlox was.
She was a ghost of Christmas past. I can't believe it. Yes, that was her. In Scrooge, she was the ghost of Christmas past. No, Christmas present. Sorry, Christmas present. She was the ghost of Christmas present. Ghost of Christmas past was the taxi driver. I remember, and she kept fucking punching. God damn it. I don't want to keep saying Bill Murray in the face all the time and hitting him with a toaster and shit. Yeah, I remember. Um, she had a throwaway line about being on Earth with the Pythagoras and came up with the with his theorems. Kirk did the Vulcan neck pinch. Other non-Vulcans who have achieved this feat include Picard, Burnham. Yeah, well, Burnham's a no-brainer. Archer, Data. Well, Data's so strong, maybe Odo, or he can replicate Vulcan, so no-brainer there. And Seven. Well, Seven basically acts like a fucking Vulcan, so no-brainer there. You're kind of frozen, Cheeto. Cheeto's frozen. Let's see what happens. Oh, there he's gone. So, in this episode, when it came to the double cross of the human being, wanting to get into that particular lab all along, we find out that she's not human at all. She's a fucking Romulan. She's been surgically altered, and she's been finding it really difficult to get to this particular location because it's so heavily guarded. You wouldn't have thought so, by the way. The way they just was shooting people in the corridor after a couple of occasions, and the bloody alarm went off. I was like, "What the hell?" Like this is the place that she had a problem getting into. But prior to that, there's a moment with Kirk and Singh and them not giving up their position and willing to die for their beliefs, I guess, and just to stall this Romulan from doing anything. And that's when Kirk dies. He gets shot in the gut. But for me, far as I was concerned, it wasn't that shocking because this was alternative timeline Kirk. So this Kirk can die a million fucking times, a million fucking ways. He's not our Kirk. He's somebody else's Kirk. So good riddance, somebody else's Kirk. But I was saying earlier, Cheeto, that
Sorry,
this Romulan.
the power went out for a couple seconds at my house, and then so I'm on my hotspot right now. It's the power's not out anymore, but my internet's going to take a bit to restart. So
No problem. So I was saying earlier that this Romulan was mentioning how she found it really difficult to get into this place. And she's been waiting 30 years to get in here. But that seemed really bizarre because they were able to shoot a few guards. The alarm is going off the whole fucking time. You know what I mean? They're able to talk and have more dialogue moments. Kill maybe one or two more guards. Kirk is dead. His body's been. By the way, his body's just been left there? By the way,
probably disappeared when the timeline reset. But I want all I wanted was when he died for him to say, "Oh my," like he did in Generations.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's twice now we've seen Kirk die.
Yep, technically. Well, it depends. Did he die in the season finale episode with Pike, like when the alternate future, where Kirk's on the Farragut? Did the Farragut get destroyed?
I can't remember. I mean, did he ever die in TOS as an alternative version of himself?
Oh, probably. Who knows? I mean,
fair enough. But yeah, and it was a bit weird when we got to Khan's door because we see how his door is written. It's written in a very sort of immature way. And that threw me off a little bit. We saw some pictures and stuff like that, but then it kind of made sense because when we see Khan, he's just a kid, and I was even more confused after that.
Well, as I said, that's why I think the timelines changed because I think Khan was the eugenics wars was supposed to be a thing years ago. So,
and he was an adult then. He was a full-grown adult back in 1992.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying is that they that's what we were and Daniel Vance was saying earlier was that the timeline is kind of shifting, but it's still trying to correct itself because Khan is still becoming a thing. even though it's not at the proper time, it's still happening. So it's like time is like a stream; it always tries to correct itself.
Yeah, I agree, which is what I liked about Flashpoint. Um, I think they missed an opportunity when Leon calls James after a return and not calling his brother George when inquiring about his service record. No, I'm actually happy that he called James because she's got the hots for him. You know what I mean? So she wants to get beamed up by fucking James T. Kirk, big time. So that's why she called him. And after what they shared on Earth, she needed to.
I mean,
She
really,
needed some sort of.
what did they share? A kiss and a look.
No, but they had an adventure together in a different timeline, and they grew a little bit close. And
I think she just liked the fact that he had no idea about her last name, and she just wanted to bone. She just wanted to
no
bone.
doubt, no, but I think curiosity got the best of her, and she wanted to see James again in any capacity she could. But this was not the same James. He wasn't. This wasn't the same Kirk, and when we see her back in a normal timeline, she starts breaking down. But before I get to that, just seeing that Romulan getting killed, that Romulan was really strong. I always thought Romulans didn't have the same strength of Vulcans.
Yeah,
Or
no,
do they?
they're the same. They're the same as Vulcans. They've got
They
enhanced
are.
strength, just like Vulcans. Yep.
And so that Romulan should have absolutely torn Leon-Singh to shreds. You know what I mean? You could just picked her up and fucking King Sharked her. You know what I mean? Just ripped her and like.
Well, apparently she was motivated by love. La'an was
Yeah.
motivated by love and destiny. Let's throw
She,
destiny in there too.
oh, if she called his brother Sam, yeah. Well, everyone else calls him Sam, but his name is George. Yeah. Middle names is such a fucking weird thing. You know. Anyways. Uh. Once she basically comforts Khan, this future genocide, mass murdering person who's in kid form. She realizes that her job's done because she stopped Khan from being killed. If Khan did get killed, then I think Earth would have been worse off. It's weird like that, isn't it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
Earth would have been worse off if he got killed because like Earth would have been destroyed and God knows what else. But he didn't. He didn't get killed, so we still have like a future version of eugenics wars, I guess. And he obviously gets sent up into space for a reason that I keep forgetting because it seems fucking stupid.
They were
But
basically
nevertheless,
exiled from Earth because they were too powerful to keep on Earth. I find
so
it funny
you
though
shoot
that
them
we
in
have
space.
we're talking about, or we're having two episodes back to back focused on like eugenics and like like the genetically enhanced, because this one was about Khan more or less, and then the last one was about Una being genetically enhanced. So two episodes in a row, I think they're going to kind of lean into that a little bit more.
Well, eventually, she hits that button, goes back to her timeline, and she goes straight to the bridge, and everything seems to be normal. Captain Pike's back there, and number one's there, and everything seems to be how it was before. She's obviously still dressed up in her 21st century Earth clothing, but nothing is really made of that too much. Pike obviously briefly asked what the fuck, but she didn't really delve into it too much. And then that's when we get that moment with temporal investigations, which was really good. I always like seeing temporal investigations when we get to time travel episodes. I pop in their head in, knowing that something has gone wrong. And she did kind of spill the beans to them, telling them exactly what happened, and then gave the temporal investigation lady that device. And by doing so, the temporal investigation lady pressed a button on that device, and she fucking disappeared. Like, what the hell's going on? you
Well,
know,
she's from temporal investigation. She did her job and she claimed the technology and she left. That's kind of their job. Clean up the timeline.
Fair enough. Anyways, we then after she speaks to Kirk, and it was just some bullshit reason she just wanted to speak to Kirk, and she came up with a valid reason regarding George Sam, that is. And after she finished speaking to Kirk, she starts crying her eyes out. And this was the most vulnerable and emotional and most effeminate version of noonien-singh that I've ever seen, and I fucking loved it. Her acting was superb. What's up with you, baby? I know. Her acting was superb. It was a great episode for her. I was very. I had a good time with this episode. I've always been a big fan of time travel episodes, and this one was done fantastically. Had moments of Star Trek for the Voyage Home, and various other Star Trek episodes which were done as series back in the day. Time to market, I guess.
Yep.
Sorry, one more comment here. Romulan woman, was she in the still the Enterprise? No, that's somebody else. That was a transgendered lady. I didn't catch if Jim. I'll need to go back. Okay, so I'm gonna give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a very good episode. I did feel that some of the time travel shenanigans was there because it was supposed to happen in the first place. Without these time travel shenanigans, the hocus pocus fucking engineer lady would never have been an engineer without her interactions with noonien-singh. Would you say so?
Oh yeah, I think that's what they were pointing at when she was there. Yeah.
Fair enough. So yeah. Anyways, what are you gonna give it out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 9. It was really good. I really, as I said, I'm really warming up to Kirk. And as I said, I don't hold Kirk in high esteem. Like, if anything, everybody knows I am not a fan of Kirk, but I'm more not a fan of Bill Shatner. So that's why it's kind of like I'm kind of liking this version of Kirk. So hopefully this guy can do Kirk justice. And La'an is just great. I love La'an. Ever since last season, I mean, the first season, she was great. So I'm really liking her. And I liked her in this episode. And I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, come on. Anyone would want to boink Kirk. Even me.
Really good episode to have a supporting actor front and center in this. I do feel that we're going to get more of James D. Kirk with this particular actor in the future.
Yeah,
I think it's inevitable. You know, and considering we both like this episode, you know, I gave it an 8 out of 10 even, and you gave it a 9. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be interested in seeing this episode. So yeah, I do recommend it for sure. All right, time to sign off. You got anything more to add?
Nope, that's it.
Wonderful. Well, catch us when you can. Here at NerdTube, we're going to be doing some live reviews for fan film reactions, as well as recorded stuff. We are busy guys with lives to live. You know, I drive a cab and I'm almost everywhere and anywhere at times. So I never know when I'm going to be home and be able to do this line of work. Luckily, sometimes the stars align pretty well, and it hasn't been too bad to me so far. Cheeto himself is a busy man as well as a family man, but we always try to get as much NerdTube content out as possible. So yeah, and I think the next thing we'll be coming up with here at NerdTube, outside of our weekly podcast, is the Secret Invasion. That's me having to charge my car. I'll be doing that very shortly. Yeah.
Also, are you guys doing an Indiana Jones review after you watch that?
Probably. Ginger
That's
Greek
coming out this
and
weekend, right?
It's already out in some places, I think.
Oh, okay.
Ginger Greek and we're going to watch it sometime next week.
No, okay.
And we'll give it a review. Okay, so I rate it a 9. Daniel Vance, I have my own personal name. It's called the End of the World podcast. I call it The Sodomizer Podcast. That's my name for it. And yeah, be ready for that. All right. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. We'll be back tomorrow with some more NerdTube content. And look out. Go to our webpage right now. We've got fan film reactions. We have so much stuff available for people who like nerdy stuff, nerdy content. You'll find it here on our channel. So yeah, please have a look. Take care now. Thank you very much, Cheeto, and thank you very much everyone else out there in YouTube land.
Live
Bye-bye.
long and perspire, everybody.